Good morning and happy Hanukkah to all you beautiful love streamers out there. Whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, we want to welcome you to the Center for Spiritual Living Charlotte. If this is your first time, we want you to know that we are so delighted that you have chosen to join us today because with modern technology, we are extremely grateful for this opportunity to touch so many lives. And as we share these wonderful happenings at CSO Charlotte, we want you to feel free to visit our website, csoCharlotte.org, put in a prayer request, and subscribe. We add our recordings to our website each week. So let me tell you more about who we are at CSO Charlotte. CSO Charlotte Center for Spiritual Living is a new thought community living in ancient wisdom philosophy based on the science of mind. The science of mind philosophy was developed in the early 20th century by writer and lecturer Ernest Holmes. Dr. Holmes was a man on a mission. He studied truths from all of the world's religious traditions and spiritual paths. Holmes developed a fresh new way for us to look at ourselves and how we fit into our world. He's been referred to as the great synthesizer. At CSO Charlotte, we want you to know that every philosophy is honored along with every race, sexual orientation, and physical distinction. We are a diverse, open, and affirmative community. There are many paths to the divine. We can call it God, peace, love, spirit, infinite mind, or the I am presence. It really doesn't matter what you call it. That is your power that resonates within you. You do not have to leave your philosophy or nature knowledge. You can join us anytime. We recognize and refer to many of the Holy Scriptures, such as the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, the Upanishads, and the Bhagavad Gita, and that is just to name only a few. So let me tell you about our vision statement here at CSO Charlotte. We like to say that we continue a spiritual community creating and preparing a succession of future leaders who can fully integrate, teach, and expose the science of mind principles, messages, and practices that strengthen the mind, body, and spirit of individuals. One of our aims here is to create a high collective consciousness for everyone in this community. And we teach and provide the tools to do just that. So we want you to come and join us as we meet every Tuesday evening for our consciousness meeting at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're going to tell you more about that when we get to our opportunities. And so before we do that, what I want to tell you, I got a little quote that I want to share with you before we hand it over to our wonderful leader, Reverend Rosedale. And here it is, a thought for today. I think the first step is to understand that forgiveness does not exonerate the perpetrator. Let me say that again. I think the first step is to understand that forgiveness does not exonerate the perpetrator. Forgiveness liberates the victim. It is the gift you give yourself. And that is from T.D. Jakes. And with that, I'm going to hand the mic over to our fabulous, fearless, illustrious leader, Reverend Rosedale.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Horace DeBush, for that fabulous entrance for us today and getting us started. So the first thing I want to do is let you know who we are. We are Center for Spiritual Living Charlotte, the mind, body, spirit, and I'd like to welcome you this morning. Now, to all of our YouTube listeners and all of our wonderful virtual communities all over that constantly turn in and look at us because we get back ideas and thoughts from you, and it's all great. And also our in-person community. Welcome, everybody. So anyway, what I want to do is let you know what we do here at CSL Charlotte first. And the first thing we do is we open up with an affirmative prayer. And today you're in luck because you have our wonderful, awesome, emeritus spiritual practitioner, Maureen Thurston, aka Mo to me, and she is first on the platform. So just know that as she brings her affirmative prayer, our talk title is The Freedom of Forgiveness. She's pretty well versed in that. So with that being said, you may want a prayer after the service, and you may want a prayer with how you can be into forgiveness. Put in a prayer request. Like I always say, if you have not received a prayer request from Mo, you have not put in a prayer request. And that is what she's doing. So if you're feeling any way about forgiveness and would like to feel it in your life, put in a prayer request. We're open for that all the time. So with that beautiful thing said, Mo, please bring us in with your prayer.
Thank you. So as we take just a quick moment here to settle in and turn to that divine presence that was in each and every one of us, what I know for us here today, for CSL Charlotte, for this community, for Rosedale, and for all of the listeners that are participating online, this service is blessed. I know that Reverend Rosedale's message is absolutely clear and precise and touches each and every one of us in what way we need to hear it. I know that this service runs smoothly and easily and seamlessly. And with that, we open this time up of celebration, of community, and of togetherness with ease, with grace, with love, compassion, and with knowing that we are going to be fed by this amazing woman. So as I release this prayer into the state of law, I know that it is already manifested within our lives right here and right now. So I release and I let go and I let God, knowing that it is done. And please lock it in with me by affirming, and so it is.
And so it is. Thank you so much, Mo, for that affirmative prayer. Making sure she affirms as we get started today. That's a very good thing. So the next thing on our platform is our reader. And today, our reader is someone who's very near and dear to my heart because she does the same things I do. We both love teaching yoga and sharing spirit with everybody. The mind-body spirit connection is powerful in yoga. And that's one of the major reasons I like teaching it. And I like going to be taught. Well, I like being a yogini participant of hers anyway, because I don't go to too many of those classes. But at the same time, she's a fabulous reader when it comes down to it. So one of the things I do know is that I'm quite sure with all the reading she finds, the freedom of forgiveness is really not hard for her to deal with and dwell with either. So I often get the opportunity to hear her readings. So today, if you're open, you're in for a treat. And that is something I must tell you for sure about. Now, here's the next thing. After JT finishes her reading, I would like for you to pay attention to the song called, what is the song called?
Believe in yourself.
Believe in yourself, right? Because believing in yourself is really going to be the first ability you're going to learn about to give you that ability and the capability to actually forgive. So hang in there and let JT do her reading and have it.
Good morning, all. Today's reading is titled The Freedom of Forgiveness by Linda Bullock. It's from the Center of Spiritual Living Tucson's blog. It will start with two quotes. The first one is from Nelson Mandela. As I walked out the door toward the gate that would lead to my freedom, I knew if I didn't leave my bitterness and hatred behind, I'd still be in prison. The second quote is from Ernest Holmes. We have thought that outside things controlled us, when all the time we have had that within that could have changed everything and given us freedom of bondage. There are a lot of books and articles on the topic of forgiveness and plenty of advice. Some describe what forgiveness isn't. It doesn't mean you immediately allow the person back into your life or your heart. It is not condoning what the person did or pretending that you were not hurt. It is not trusting the offender or relieving that person of responsibility. Forgiveness is not something we do for other people. We forgive others, not because they deserve forgiveness, but because we deserve peace. It's something we do for ourselves so that we can move on and no longer experience an emotional charge when we think about what led to the resentment. The practice of forgiveness is emotional and spiritual work, taking time and effort. It is a process, not an event. When Nelson Mandela first walked into prison, he was a very angry man. Desmond Tutu states that it took the many years in jail, years he spent cultivating a daily practice of forgiveness, for him to become the luminous example of tolerance who was able to put our wounded country on the road to reconciliation and healing. I have learned that I must choose to forgive. Waiting until we feel like forgiving doesn't usually work. Time alone does not heal all wounds, especially if we have stoked the fire of resentment. In the past, I have hung on to an old resentment, even though I knew I would have to release it eventually. The ego enjoys the feeling of righteousness and indignation and the manic energy of anger for a time. Yet psychologists ask us, would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? Part of the ability to forgive is in recognizing that we are all human and flawed. One's behavior is impacted by childhood experiences, culture, trauma, fear, and the like. The prayer of St. Francis would have me seek to understand rather than to be understood. Had I been in that person's shoes, would the words or behaviors have been so unusual or unpredictable? Is my judgment impaired by self-centeredness, by a lack of compassion? What matters is that I have a choice to change my thinking and achieve peace. Nothing is more important than that we learn how to forgive both ourselves and others. It is impossible for us to feel relief and release from self-condemnation while we bear condemnation towards others. That is from Ernest Holmes, like Living the Science of Mind. Today, I choose freedom by looking for any unforgiveness I am carrying. The most difficult forgiveness to achieve has been forgiving myself, influenced by a culture and religion that espouse sin, evil, hell, and punishing God. That's a story for another day. We must walk through the muddy shoals of hatred and anger and make our way through grief and loss to find the acceptance that is the hallmark of forgiveness. A quote from Desmond Tutu. And so it is.
Wow. Believing in yourself and your abilities, and you're so capable. You have the power in you. Believe in your dreams. Let's take a 2-minute or maybe 1.5-minute time just for a centering and breathe in really, really deeply. And as we exhale really, really slowly, let's think about believing in ourselves, in our abilities. The freedom of forgiveness is based pretty much on believing in yourself and how much you have the ability to forgive. Also, she's saying you have to believe in yourself, you have to believe in your abilities, you're capable of anything, especially forgiveness. It's just a choice. You heard the reading, it's a choice. Whether you choose to use spiritual practices to help you do it, it's all up to you. But forgiveness is your freedom to moving on and to moving on to your next level in life. So, that being said, take a moment now and wiggle your fingers and toes and really breathe yourself back into your space and kind of look around everywhere and see that you are in your place. And as your eyes float back open, act like this is the first time you've ever been there. You don't know this place, you're new to this place, just so you can really get in deep about this freedom that you're about to experience today. But before that, I'm going to take a gratitude moment. And I'm so grateful, Horace, for you for being our MC and bringing us in and giving us our little opening. And I'm also grateful for you, Mo, for that incredible prayer that brings us in to really get into the cells of me and all of us. And then to JT. You know that reading was fabulous, and your reading definitely, truly points the way to the actual freedom of forgiveness, because the title of your talk, your reading was the same as mine. So let's think about the freedom of forgiveness. Have you ever considered whether or not you are angry or harboring any fears or anger or resentment inside of you? After today, though, you might tell yourself, I see. Now I see how to do it, because a lot of people don't forgive because they don't know how. It's a spiritual thing. It's all about that. We talked about that yesterday in the talk, in the book study. Basically, everything is spiritual. There's nothing we can escape with that, because this is what we were born with. And so freedom of forgiveness really refers to actually embracing your act of forgiveness. Because you see, what happened is when you are using that forgiveness tool you have, you're facing a healthier body. You're also achieving more of a beautiful, improved focus. And the focus is this, because you see, when you're focused on, I'm not forgiving and I'm so mad, how do you get up in the morning and create a life that's better? How do you change yourself and begin to start transforming from a paradigm you don't even like that you're in? Whatever that paradigm is you're not happy with, I guarantee you this, because research also says it, forgiveness is at the helm of it, baby. And so we have to learn how to do that. And also, it's going to increase some happiness, because do you ever know? Hey, you heard what JT said about the reading, how Nelson Mandela, he was angry when he first entered prison. But we were talking about that also yesterday. People that go to prison, it's not that they're bad or good. Many times people develop things in that prison cell, because that's the only place spirit can get you to sit, listen to yourself. And it's really not even spirit getting you. You did what you had to do so you can get where you needed to be. And that's where you needed to be at that point. That man came out the most forgiving person you ever want to know about. See, embracing forgiveness, I feel that it does, it actually integrates us with our mind, our body, and our spirit. Because if we're going to be angry and not be able to forgive people because they hurt you, or you allowed yourself to get hurt, then what happens is you're the one who end up sad, bitter, and angry, and resentful. But spiritual practices like meditation, a little prayer work, also contemplation, how about reflection? Maybe also yogic breathing. That is my main go-to when I can't get it together, is my breath. Do you know that breath is the life force? It is our life force. If you don't believe me, hold your breath. That's a good example. I couldn't think of nothing else. Hold your breath and you see how long you last. But anyway, I just sometimes say the silliest things, but I gotta let it out because that's what I do. So this way, I'm just thinking of me holding my breath. But this way, you actually get a sense of what it feels like and a sense of well-being when you begin to breathe in. And even when inside of a simple stretch in yoga, you are breathing every single step of the way. Almost every single pose, I remind people and cue them into their breath. It's the life force. And I'm well aware of that because I've experimented with it on myself many a times. But here's the deal about the freedom of forgiveness. It begins with self-forgiveness. Many times, that's the hardest place to actually forgive is you, or to begin with forgiving is yourself. Because what happens is you don't want to admit. Some people don't like to admit, but I will admit in a heartbeat now that I understand how important it is that, yeah, that bothered me. Oh, yeah, I didn't like that. Oh, my sister, she has a tendency to say, well, you can't say that because you're spiritual, you're a minister. I said, let me tell you this, just stop that noise right there. Hold up, wait a minute. Because just because I teach this and I know this, I got to teach me first. And I don't need someone else to tell me, hey, you need to think like this, or you need to think like that. Especially, let me tell you another thing about forgiveness or about a little bit of anger. Do you know that the first step, if something hurts you badly, is to do what? To get angry. Why is that sometimes? Because that's a part of us, and we need that anger. We need that energy to move us to the next level. Some people, if they're not angry enough, they will sit there and get wallowed around in the pool, the cesspool, as I call it, because they're so nice. And here's what I tell people: don't be nice. Be real. When you're real, niceness carries right behind it. It does. It has nothing else to do. But trying to hold and tolerate people, ooh, that's a painful thing. So then you got to begin to get yourself out of that discomfort. Because let me just tell you this: hard times, bad times, good times, all of this stuff is inevitable to us. But here's the deal: nobody, but nobody can avoid discomfort. Nobody can avoid people getting up and going against them. Nobody can avoid harmful things. Nobody. Nobody can come here and save us from anything. Nobody can come here and tell you how to save yourself from anything, but you have to make that choice. And you know what? Hardship and mistakes can't be avoided either. So that way you'll learn that, okay, I can't use that victim consciousness. Well, I made a mistake. People do that and they tell themselves that I made a mistake because it helps everybody to say, oh, you poor thing. And if you get into that pity party, you're going to just let it stoke, whatever it was, because now you don't have to forgive anything or yourself, because at this point you have giving yourself a bypass. I made a mistake. So watch those things. These are all, when these different hardships and all these things, they're just learning curves. They just show us where to go next time. Next time you won't be over there. You will get over here because that side of the street, it has a big hole in it, if you will. Whatever it is, if you know it, get out of that. You can avoid doing something differently. You can avoid that, but you can't avoid an accident down the road. You can't avoid something else that somebody else did. But here's the thing we talked about again yesterday in the book study. It's not about the things, the actions that happen to you. It is about the way you respond to them. That's what it's all about. But you can't do it without self-forgiveness. Because self-forgiveness and spiritual practices with it helps you rise above those challenges that help you to stop, or that make you feel like, well, I don't want to do it. And I remember so well how many times I didn't want to forgive so and so, or I didn't want to forgive my parents, and I didn't want to forgive the school. I didn't want to forgive the fact that racism existed. I didn't want to forgive blah 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 blah. But you know what? It taught me how to live with it. And with that, I also learned how to keep myself afloat from out of it and away from it. Don't go on that side of the street because that's not the place to be. When we lived in New York City, that might have been a very racist place, but I don't have that anymore. I'm not attracting that. But what happened was we knew, don't go to Bed-Stuy. I mean, not Bed-Stuy. Don't go to Bensonhurst. Don't go out there in the Long Island things by yourself. You know that. So you don't. So this way you're going to lead a happier life because you did not get approached by those things that have harmed you, that could have harmed you, that you have no control over. The only thing you do have control over is don't go across to that street. Wrong place to be, right? See, it's all about the obstacles that get in your path. And those obstacles are learning curves. And when those obstacles get in your path and they hurt you, pick up that rock and look at it, reflect on it, and realize I wasn't paying attention to this rock in the road and I stepped on it. And then all of a sudden, the big toe was injured, the ankle was injured, or something. But it's not your fault. So don't blame that. So that's why you do a forgiveness. I forget, so many people said, if it wasn't for them, so-and-so wouldn't be dead. First of all, you cannot control the day somebody dies. And I'm going to tell you something else that's real cute. People got shot 15 or 20 times and lived. I have been a witness to it because I have been in the hospitals with certain people that I stayed with. You don't know, just because the bad guy thought he had control over that person dying, you don't know what that person did inside of his head. And I would be standing over their beds while they're sitting there thinking, he knows that he has control of this. He knows he can live it, or she knows she can live. But just because, and this is one of the things they taught us in the police academy, and it had nothing to do with spirituality. It was already spiritual before I even got there. Listen to this. We were trained that if you get shot, you do not have to die. And that I took so seriously. But I think that was spirit within me saying, should this happen to you, you ain't dying because you know how. And I thought about that recently because I don't think I thought about it then. But now that I look back, yes, all of this was all meant for my good. Even though I did not like the things that we were going through. I did not like the racism that was put upon me. But I can't control how idiots are. Right? I can't. I have no control over them. But I can control how I respond to it. All I got to do is not deal with you. And you know what? People say, well, you have to forgive them. You know what you have to do? Forgive you first. Because you know what? I walked in that room and I heard them saying the things they say. I walked in that position, that place, and I could have just done something better. Back up. Think about some of the things that next time, that's not the place for me to be. Those are not the people for me to be around. Then you start, you know what happened? You run out of people that you can be around, and then spirit or the universe has nothing to do but put you right there with the right ones, because spirit abhors a vacuum. When you see that things are not, it's just a whole bunch of things are coming towards you and against you or whatever, and you back away and you just keep pushing it away, they're gone. It has to put something there. So guess what? While all that time that Nelson Mandela was sitting in that prison and he was cultivating his meditation or whatever he did, his practices for forgiveness, he was able to eventually become happy. Once he did, you attract not who you want, but you attract who you are. Interesting. True story. I know people say, well, these are cliches. You know what? I can't even tell you I can't begin to tell you how many practices I do constantly just to test what they said, especially the researches that I read. I'm telling you, I practice them. And that's the only reason why I'm so sure that if I decide that I want something and I do certain things, I know that certain things are going to come in my favor. I watch it all week long and I keep going, that was something I prayed about a whole year ago. And it's coming up now. And I said to my grandson yesterday, let me tell you something. Once we make this prayer today, I'm going to tell you something. It doesn't stop until you get it. But see, you got to do some work. So don't think because we pray for you, everything's going to happen, because we're not making anything happen. We're just helping you open up your mind so that your mind can accept the betterness of who you are. See, prayer is for the person being prayed for to change their mind. There's nothing that we do. We just know the truth. And the truth is, you have to do it yourself. And at some time, at some point, you will become aware of it because of the prayer. You see? So the feeling of being overwhelmed by life challenges and all of those things, look in the back of it and see, what did I feel when they jumped me? Was I mad because I went to the meeting and I knew I wasn't supposed to be? Because who do you need to forgive in that case? Think about it. I need to forgive myself. If I said, I'm not going because I know what they're going to do, and then I go anyway, and then they turn around and do the things they do, well, hey, I was at choice. I was there. So I forgive myself for that. And I continue. Every time I get mad, I forgive myself again. Every time something goes wrong, I come back and I pray some more. About the same subject. Why? Because we are so stoked into things like that, because we're in a paradigm. We are people of habit, creatures of habit. And what happens is that paradigm we create and that paradigm we build for ourselves, we live it. And baby, you don't want to continue to stay in that paradigm because it's not working for you and you're not really happy with what's happening with it. And you have to understand adversity. Adversity is a catalyst. Check it out. Adversity is a catalyst for our personal growth and transformation, because if you didn't have that adversity, you wouldn't recognize, I need to change the way I'm walking. I need to change the way I'm talking. I need to change the way I'm thinking. I need to change my ideas. I need to just change my life. I need to change the way I look at things, and the things I look at begin to change. But I have to figure out how to do that. So what do? What are some of the things you could do? You can go to spiritual communities. My whole goal about having spiritual communities is not just to be stoked in, I'm a minister, so I know this and that. It is so that people begin to realize that it is not that serious. Life is good, and you have to choose that, but you got to choose it. And I just say the same thing over and over, because why? People are in the paradigms. For years, you were built with the idea that you have to forgive others first. You were built with the idea that you have to give it to them. You were built with the idea, I got to take care of so-and-so. You were not really stoked in the idea that, what about me? Because without me, there's no way I can do anything better for myself. I can't do the transformation. So I take my spiritual practices and I open up to understanding. I open up to forgiveness. I open up to my peace, because you know what? JT's reading also said, we don't forgive them because they deserve it. We forgive them because we need the peace. And if you don't believe me, don't forgive them. Don't forgive you. Because everything that happened to us, if we look, we were somewhere back there. Because we always knew before something happened, especially the higher the detrimental, we knew. Now, I'm not going to tell you how to think and to blame yourself, but this is what I do know, and I will always stand by that idea. I am the one who has caused things to actually happen in my life, because I knew ahead of time you shouldn't go. Oh, well, I'm just going to go. you shouldn't do this. Oh, I'm just going to do. Listen, I'm telling you, I've seen it. Turn right here. No, I'm not going to turn right. You're not listening, Rosedale. I told you to turn right here. And it's getting to the point now where I'll say, you know what? I'm going to follow the GPS because I'm not going to follow me because I'm like, where's she going? Most of the time, it's been right lately. So some people say, well, I'm going in here and I'm going to do it this way because I know it my way. That's fine. But I know one thing, understanding the connection of the importance of prioritizing self-forgiveness is your overall happiness. Just saying. So with that, on this next song we have coming up, I believe wholeheartedly that wherever forgiveness is, that's where freedom is. And so this song is basically going to talk about some more clarity and give us the idea of, hey, I'm the one in charge. But listen to this man's words and really let him tell you that forgiveness is a choice. And not only is it a choice, it's also about where freedom is. Hold on for that next song. Is where forgiveness is. Just think about that, guys. You may come up with reasons why you don't want to forgive, why you can't forgive yourself, why you can't forgive you because so-and-so died or whatever, and it's your fault for telling them that you not telling them you love them or whatever. Just listen, let go of that anger, that pride, and that pain, and go to where love and all that other stuff collides. Whoa, nice. Yes. So, as I always love to say, a community that prays together stays together. And then, if you have not put in a prayer request, then you will not be getting an email. No, actually, you know what? You got to put the prayer request in. Anything that you need, you will definitely make sure that you put that prayer request in. You will hear from us. And through Maureen Thurston, who is Mo, who is our spiritual practitioner, emeritus practitioner. So that all be saying, with that all said,
Thank the crew.
yeah. Thank you, Alan, for those fabulous announcements. Yes. So this time is the best time to start thinking about birthdays again. You know, okay, so here's what I know. I don't know your birthday. You know your birthday. And if you'd like to, I didn't say this last week on purpose, you definitely want to make sure you give us your birthday. I am so enjoying watching the people join us on YouTube. So, and join our channel. I get emails about that. So when you know that you know your birthday, I know you're out there, so just put it out there. Thank you, Melissa, for putting up your screen to show us the birthday time. And so far, nobody today, but I bet you somebody is today, but they just did not catch us yet. But don't worry, next year we'll get you. So that all said, it's time for me now to give the big gratitude shout outs to our platform team. This morning, our platform MC was Horace DeBush, and he did a phenomenal job to tie it all together, especially toward the end of the talk. He did a summation the way lawyers do. I love it. So there we had an opening and we had a closing prayer, but we will have the closing prayer. But we had our opening prayer so far with Mo, our spiritual practitioner, our emeritus spiritual practitioner. And we had our reader, JT. She was the bomb with that as well. Just made sure that it all connected. It was so good. And then we had the big man here, the big A team. He did the music and the announcements today. And that, I think, is just fabulous. That's my right-hand man, y'all. And then we had a little fuzzy noise in the background, but the cleanup woman took care of it, I'm quite sure. Groovy, I have to say thank you to the cleanup woman for making sure things stay nice and smooth as we go along. And the greeting and the spotlighting is going so well to our awesome Melissa Spiegler. And she just makes sure that everything gets up here all right. And then our pilot, who's always floating around watching our service as we go from day to day, and also making sure that we keep up to date with what's happening. Big thank you to him as well. So that all said and done. And a big shout out goes to Mo. Mo, she's one for sending the prayers out, remember? And she's chomping at the bits, waiting. So if you did not receive a prayer request from us, you did not put in a prayer request. So I would suggest, or I challenge you to put in a prayer request today and just sit back. And here's my thing about that. Once you get your prayer request, don't just read it one time. I promise you, that thing is going to come back to haunt you and say, you know what? It may not happen. Read it again. Oh, maybe I'm not. Read it again. Oh, maybe I'm just not going to read it again because maybe something higher or better than what it is you're looking for. Did you say made, Alan? He's the best. So anyway, just know all of that stuff is good. So here we go. Before we close out, remember today, what we talked about was the freedom of forgiveness. Do you know what freedom is? Nelson Mandela was not only free through forgiveness, he's free in his heart and his life because he's no longer in that prison. But you know what? Forgiveness built the prison for many people anyway. So, okay, just make sure you prioritize your spiritual practices and listen to this last song to know about your incredibleness. The biggest thing you got to know after believing in yourself and your ability and knowing that forgiveness is where freedom is simply this. The last words that you're going to hear in this service is, you're amazing. So with that, listen to this song to let you know from whence you've come and where you're going. You're fabulous. Do you? And listen to this last song. Amazing. Can you just imagine driving up and down the road and having that song on your radio? You're amazing. You're amazing. And then you're looking in the mirror as you're saying it. You're amazing. Because guess who does that? You guessed it. I have no problem saying to myself, you're amazing. I remember them telling me years ago, you are not supposed to applaud for yourself. You are not supposed to tell yourself that. You got to tell that to other people. I say it to other people, but I say it to me. You're amazing. So I would love for somebody else to say it for themselves too. But hey, if you don't, it's okay. It's your choice. But at any rate, guys, let's get ready to have Mo pray us out. How about that? So now, with that being said, Mo, it is your time to shine, sister.
Thank you. So once again, my heart is filled with gratitude for each and every one of you. I know that as we close out this service here today, that our day and our week ahead runs smoothly and easily, that everything falls into place with love, with compassion, as we come from our hearts in everything that we do. So as we go into this amazing Sunday and the rest of the week, we take with us the words of Reverend Rosedale, the wisdom that she has imparted with us today. We always check in with ourselves to make sure that we are being our best. So as I release this and I let it go, I know that our weeks ahead and the days ahead is filled with light, with love, with laughter, with abundance, and with an appreciation for this amazing community and the gifts that it brings to our lives. So as I release and I let go, I know that Spirit is taking the helm and is manifesting within each and every one of us. And together we can lock this in for ourselves by affirming, and so it is.
And so it is. Fantabulous, everyone. So before we go today, yes, it's time to leave. So before we leave, let's just all just chime in and just tell each other something sweet. We're coming upon the end of the year, and by now we should have some new thoughts about ourselves, each other, and all that good stuff. So everybody get ready for the Christmas day, because Christmas Eve, because we have a lovely service planned, and we will be talking about that on Wednesday, what we got going on for it, so that we can all know that it's not a regular talk, but there will be some talking about lights, and everyone is welcome to speak or not. It's up to you. So that being said, see you next week and get prepared for this next talk. See you later.